Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Today I have something special. I want to go ahead and I'm going to be doing a DIY install for a BMW CS lip, an actual OEM lip. One of these boxes right here. I've actually just installed a few other parts right now that you guys see right now, and I will be doing a few other installs as well. But for today's video, I went ahead and actually pulled out the tripod. I am going to be recording a nice lengthy video, so it'll be in detailed and basically to the best of my abilities. We're going to be installing this CS lip on this 2020 BMW M4, which belongs to my friend Sam. As you guys see right now, I've already masked up the headlights and the bumper and the fender, because those are the key points where if you're going to be doing this job with one person, I would suggest to protect the areas that are going to be exposed. I do have the car jacked up, as the bumper will need to come off. There's two brackets that go on each side of on the right side and the left side. So those will need to be added on to the vehicle for extra support. This is not your typical aftermarket lip, so it is going to be a little more detailed. The outer ones are T25s and the inner are T30. These bolts, they used to be 8mm, now they're 10, so kind of just switching up a few things on them. I guess he said it was better than to be switching back and forth from different sizes. So to pull back this fender liner, what you want to do is you want to just maybe pull the bumper a little bit outwards, so that way you can just peel it back very gently without feeling like you have to fold it. So again, just certain things that you kind of tend to pick up here and there. Basically down here, we're going to have two 10mm as well that are just holding the bumper on this side. Some people recommend to take off the tire, just to give you a better access through this fender liner. So just for this video purpose, I'll go ahead and just I'll take off the tire and give you guys a better access. Alright, so now we have the tire removed, we got it safely secured, we got a jack underneath. Since we are going to be getting under the car and making sure that we remove everything, we want to be safe as possible. I did also remove this little cover right here to allow the fender liner to bend a little better. As you guys can see, we're not damaging it or putting too much stress on there. So again, a lot better with the tire off. Gives you more clearance and more accessibility without having to stress out. We have everything here. We have the plugs for the camera. You just go ahead and undo this clip. Just push down, pull back. Same thing up here for our sensor. So for our sensor, again, these clips, they need to be removed, and they're very simple. Just tab, push, and then you're good. There's sometimes experiences when you take your vehicle somewhere, and then before you know it, some of these things aren't put back together the right way. So maybe this is the reason why I decided to do the little DIY, or just to show you guys from my experiences. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing to the other side. The tires are already removed. I'm just going to disconnect the sensors, and I'm going to disconnect the point on the other side. So let's go there. Alright, so that's the one right there. So just you gotta do is just squeeze and then just pull up. And once that's done, have everything ready to just take out the two tents that are holding the bumper up here, and then the bumper just slides right in. So you guys see right now why I took off the other one from the other side, because kind of didn't really give me that much of a play. But you see, you know, I'm not a certified technician, mechanic, or anything like that, but I've taken off a few bumpers, and one of the easiest things where you realize, hey, I just paid for someone to mess up my stuff, is when you just see that the screws don't match up, or they put a different type of screw to hold onto your bumper. I just feel that for me, that's just very sloppy. It shouldn't be done that way. So let's go to the other side and loosen up the other side. Alright, so both sides from the bumper have been removed. Now I gotta get underneath and loosen up the ones that the screws that are holding it up to the bumper cover. Or I'll show you guys right now. I'll show you guys what I mean. We see what's holding everything together. As we see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bolts that are holding everything together right here. Actually, I could just remove these and these right here and possibly pull everything out, but I'm just gonna go ahead and get everything out, since these will have to be trimmed, and we'll go ahead and get to that later. But for now, let's go ahead and remove them. So I probably won't film this part, I'll just film it afterwards. Alright, so I went ahead and removed both of the undercovers. Got all the screws out. So right now everything is pretty much just ready for me to just pull the bumper out. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the end performance slip once I have the bumper out, since it has all these little plastic rivets that have been already attached. So again, that's mostly what the matte performance slip is how it's done. So go ahead and get everything ready to just pull the bumper out. Since the car is mineral white, before I touch it with these gloves, I'm just gonna go ahead and clean them up, because I don't want it to really anything, oils or anything, stay permanently on the bumper. So even this matte performance emblem it's got some sort of like little tray right here that meets, and it's chassis mounted. So that's what makes these lips so expensive and makes them, you know, a little more difficult to install. But I mean, it's worth every penny. I mean, from my perspective. But don't take my perspective. We gotta trim a few things. I know we gotta trim this. We gotta trim this. We're gonna have to make a few modifications here and there, but I definitely look forward to this. Alright, so I'll go ahead and link the part number for the bracket. Like I was mentioning, we remove this bolt first and foremost before we put the bracket on. Once we remove the bolt, then we go ahead and we put the bolt back on. You align it with the bottom one as well, would be this one right here. Obviously there's a cover that goes underneath, so you don't want to just tighten it up, but you do kind of want to have it snug. That way when you go ahead and you measure, put your lip on there, you want to go ahead and make sure that everything is centered, so that way it's not crooked, so this bracket is not facing one side or the other, so everything needs to be mocked up. Again, once the bolts already are on there, I mean, this thing doesn't really go anywhere. So that's the beauty of this CS lip. Everything else remains the same. Once we go ahead and measure an inch from the bottom to the top in the center of the bumper crash bar, we go ahead and just trim off the center part of this to make sure that we're able to fit the little support bar right through the middle. Minus just trimming a few items. So we have to trim this, and we also have to trim the bumper, the foam. So you guys can see I trimmed this part off. It's about an inch and a half by 3/4 of an inch, and this is where the bolt kind of sits on there. That way it kind of just doesn't make this go in inappropriately. As well as this part right here, the mesh. You have to trim off the mesh a little bit right here. It's very simple. You just kind of follow the little center line, you know, and you just try to be as straight as possible, and that way you get that little metal support bar going right through its proper location. And yeah, so as I was telling you, this is where that one bolt will go, and this is the way to properly do a CS lip install. Since we're doing all the work, we're removing the bumper, we're getting everything cleared out, I just figured it'd be a lot easier to remove a few more plastic trims out of there and be able to get all the dirt and grime that collects underneath, all your cooling basically. So if you have dirt, grime, and all that stuff, it's definitely going to affect the way it performs. And also, as you guys can see, it also blocks the radiator passageways. So the more you guys can keep an eye on it, you guys can avoid these little radiator gills to be damaged. So that's why it's kind of important to focus on these things every now and then. I know it's important to keep the car looking good, but it's also nice to keep it performing even better. So alright, so before I put everything back together, I'm just gonna go ahead and we're gonna dress up his front bar right here. It's instead of having that just all blacked out, we're gonna go ahead and put a nice little strip of white around there. That way it's gonna match with the car, with the rest of it, and when you look directly at it, this will actually pop more and it'll stand out even better. So I'll show you guys how it looks afterwards, but basically, since I'm not able to go ahead and get the tape to wrap around there, what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be cutting this into little strips and then tucking it in the back of this, and then just kind of making it seem like if it's overlapping. So I'll show you guys in a little bit what it'll look like once I get everything going. Alright, so as I was telling you guys, I was going to go ahead and use vinyl tape to go ahead and dress up the bar right here, and that's how it came out. So I cut the strips were about 1.5 to 2 inches long, and then I just kind of wrapped it around there, and I just grabbed another, and then just made it seem like if I wrapped it around the whole bar itself. This is the kind of tape that you guys, if you guys are interested in getting it. You can also do it without removing the bumper. You just remove the grills, and then the gills, the kidney grills, and then you guys will have access to the bar right there. So again, this is the vinyl tape that I recommend that you guys use with it. Since everything's already done, I got the inventory scoops back on there. I'm gonna go ahead and put the foam bar over here, and I'm gonna show you guys how the cut that I made over here is gonna go ahead and sit right over this properly, so it doesn't stick out funny or anything like that. So again, first thing is you can just kind of slide it right through the little hook right there, the slide. Make sure everything goes in smooth over here. There's only one way you can go, and then once it's already lined up right here, this just snaps in there just like that. And as you guys can tell from right here, if you guys can see down here, this is what the little divot is on the rivet. The screw goes on there. We put our bar over here. Everything's ready to go. We got our slits already done. We're gonna put our oil cooler cover back on. And as you guys can see, even the oil cooler gets a little slit as well, because we gotta make sure that everything gets covered properly. Another thing that you guys have to do as well on this cover is you have to trim off the corners right here. So you trim out about an inch, like half, 3/4 of an inch depth, and then you go about an inch long. And what that's gonna do is gonna free up once it goes in through there, kind of goes in right there like that. I'll show you guys once I get underneath. Let me go ahead and get everything ready. So this screw right here is the one that holds this part down here, along with the oil cooler, the bracket, and these get torqued down to 12 foot-pounds, and basically it's hand tightened. I do have a torque wrench right there, which I will be using. So again, these don't get torqued down to too much. It's aluminum, so you don't want to strip anything. So 12 foot-pounds, 8mm bolts. So just go ahead and we'll tighten these up, and then I'll get back to you. So if you have a stock car and there's no lip in the car and whatnot, this pork chop, as they refer to it, because it kind of does look like a pork chop. On this part, normally you have like a plastic thing just hanging down about an inch and a half. Kind of helps deflect the wind and all the debris. You're gonna have to modify this. You're gonna have to cut off the edge, cut off the trim. As you guys can see, it pretty much is kind of cut right before the line. I try to do it with the Dremel, as it's the easiest tool to do the cutting. And then once you get here, you make a cut over here as well. You cut this much, kind of like an L shape, but you go in just enough right there to kind of give you the clearance around this bracket right here. That way this doesn't get in the way. So once you cut that, everything just bolts up right on up. Everything is supported underneath, so it's not going to be hanging or anything like that. So here's a little tip for everyone. Even though not everybody has the same budget to get an OE lip or a CS lip, an M Performance lip or whatnot, even if you go with the cheaper, with the less inexpensive lips, which I do recommend a few. I know Auto Technic has really good quality lips on the splitters and stuff. One of the things that I do advise that you guys do use is it doesn't matter, any aftermarket lip, they all have a little like a hole, pre-drilled hole at the corner, and all you gotta do is maybe just use a screw. But one of the things that I like to do differently is I like to use one of these like clips right here. It actually goes inside the bumper. You kind of just use one of these little tabs, a plastic pin or a plastic tab basically is what that is, and you just screw it on directly onto the tab. What this does, it actually secures the lip way better than just drilling right into the bumper itself. This right here gives you that support to prevent it from coming loose. Use them with any aftermarket lip or OE lip, but that will save you a lot of headaches or a lot of drilling into your bumper. So again, that's a really good. This CS lip was actually put together with the M Performance splitters. To make this possible, we had to do some cutting. Had we not done the cutting to the OEM splitter, our gap over here wouldn't have been the same way that it is right here. This gap right here is a really nice gap. To make this happen, we had to cut the bottom of the splitter with a Dremel. I can't show it right now because everything's already been buttoned down, and I'm not going to go ahead and loosen everything up again. But I was able to cut everything to where the CS slip, in a sense, is able to kind of like go underneath the splitter so it can sit properly. Otherwise, the lip, this was all pushed down too much. It was bumping too much to the point where this gap right here was uneven. So that's how we make that possible. As far as this goes right here, there's no need for 3M tape as long as you have everything mocked up correctly and use the screws on the bottom, which I will show right now. If we come underneath right here, everything will be secure. These I still need to tighten down. I'm still showing you guys how everything is still, getting tightened down, but I'll leave these towards the end. We did protect this lip with slip low. As you guys can tell right here, this lip has unfortunately, hit a few, bottomed out a little bit in some driveways, but the damage is nowhere near as bad as it would be without the slip low. As you guys can see, I actually have another CS lip that suffered an unfortunate fate, and had he possibly had slip low, he would have probably saved it. So you guys can see right here. This is what tends to happen to these lips. So, and again, you see all the mounting points? These are the ones that go onto the bumper, and that's why I'm not going to remove it and show everything. I'd rather just leave it on there once, no need to drill. But this belongs to a different car, so you guys can see what the road does to carbon fiber. Alright, so we went ahead and torqued down all the screws underneath the lip. This is an old bracket that I have, so basically what we did is we got all the screws and we torqued down, we put the lip, and then this is how it kind of just sits by the bracket to the frame. So basically this is how this lip is being supported. It's not just the screws that are just being held by the bumper, as I will show you guys right now. As a matter of fact, we're also doing an oil change. Sam is very diligent with making sure that his car is running up to its optimum performance. That's making sure that he gets his oil change every 3,500 miles. He doesn't really wait the 10,000, even though yes, it is recommended. But you know what? When like an enthusiast, you would actually benefit from doing an oil change more often than waiting the 10,000 miles. So as you guys can see, the oil pan is right there. But before I do that, I'll show you guys right now something. The brackets, again, you wouldn't be able to do this. Like literally a pull-up. Like I'm off on this. You wouldn't be able to do it on any other kind of lip if it wasn't installed this way. This is what just makes this whole install different than others. So again, it just really shows how strong and sturdy this lip is to the whole car. You guys see? And just wanted to show that. You go ahead and get the oil, close everything up, tighten it up, put some fresh oil, and I think that's about it. I'll go ahead and give you guys a walk around of the car and what I've done to it, and actually what modifications Sam has asked me to do to it. So we'll go ahead and get this buttoned up, and we'll move on to the next step. So right now we're letting the engine warm up. We're measuring the oil since we did the oil change at the same time, so we want to make sure that all of the oil levels at this proper level. But I wanted to show a little bit off the lip and show a little bit of what I meant by cutting off the bottom of the splitter. So I'll use this splitter as an example. This is not an actual M Performance splitter, since it actually is missing the little bottom tabs, the ones that go to the bumper. But this would be the same exact kind of mock-up as what I'm talking to you guys. What you want to do is you want to make this part thinner at the bottom. Normally the M Performance one, or the M Performance style, would extend all the way to the bottom, and this would actually extend a little more forward. So essentially what you're doing is you're trimming this part off, so that when you line it up with the lip, it's gonna line up almost flush. As you guys can see right here, it won't let it sit properly. You see that gap, and that's the kind of gap that we were trying to play and cut. So the more we can cut the edges on the splitter, the more it's able to just sit properly, more of a proper fit, kind of like that. So again, if you don't get the proper splitters, then you're gonna have to cut your M Performance and make it modified to where your gap is gonna be very minimal, like that, as opposed to having a gap in the middle. So again, just it really depends on getting the nice